Hello and welcome to NAGG Gaming. My name is Genosis and this is episode 7 of our Prefab tutorials series. We have not recorded one of these since, last summer I believe, when I covered most of the topics in Alpha 17. Now since then, Alpha 18 has dropped. There's been some changes, as you may see a bunch of perhaps not so familiar items or new items that you may come across in your travels. We're going to start by doing a bit of a tour of some new blocks to look out for while designing your new POIs. And then we're going to go on to a few tools that I might have missed while going over the prefab tool set that you have available. And then we're going to follow that up with a focus on POI placement, which has been a series of questions that I've seen asked in ours and other channels. So we're going to address all of that. Alright, first we can start the tour of all these new blocks and items to keep an eye out for. There's this very nice looking pool table. I've seen some people scrap together the best they can with all the blocks available, and I'm glad to see one that's here officially. Get a tilt truck. I believe that's new. The icebox is new. Then we have, okay, this is actually a really handy block. This is the baseboard block. Now the cool thing about that is that this can be painted in various colors. So if we go ahead and select a material here, I don't know, pick that. That's painted separately from all the other aspects of that block. So let's select another color just for emphasis. And this would be really handy when stacking them together. You can actually make different shapes and stitch them together and make baseboards without having to worry about placing them. So here we have the new, actually this is a, I don't think I can activate that here. Yeah, this is the jack-o'-lantern that came last fall. Those are cool to add. There was a bit of a bug with that crashed the game, but that's since fixed, considering I'm still here. Got a nice stove. We got some appliances here, toasters, coffee makers. These were a great addition. I placed this, in fact, in our coffee shop POI, which we could take a look at later. We have a soda fountain, with these really nice PC models. Just the tower. We got the monitor and tower, and just the monitor keyboard. So a lot of good configurations for your various builds. We have a little, it's not an aquarium, but I'm sure there's, what is that, reptile cage? Reptile terrarium, that helped me out. Oh yes, we get some new indicators that there's in fact a dog in your POI. I've seen these placed in a number of locations. When I saw one, I whipped out a gun. Maybe you should as well. Then we have some, well, these are basketball nets, or hoops, I guess they're called. Then some satellite dishes, some toolboxes and rolling toolboxes. Utility carts, dollies. Also, these are four separate blocks here. Sorry, three. We got the edged off blocks like these. Hold on, let me make some room here. Okay, there. You have the edged off firewood stack B and stack A. And now you can place these and rotate them and make them look like they're kind of rounded off. And then we just got the stacks. Alright, over here we have the, actually this was mentioned on the, I think Joel's Twitter, that they had made a wagon. I'm not sure there's a lot of scenarios that use this in, like the Old West Town obviously is a good location, but other than that, yeah, it's kind of very limited use for that. Love this though. I really wish they would make this drivable, because imagine having people being able to seated in the back, or maybe tons of extra storage. That would be super amazing. Maybe one day, or maybe someone's already modded it. So keep an eye out for that. Alright, we got some noose variants. We got the knotted rope, the length of rope, and then the noose. I've used this in our lighthouse, and maybe another location, but I've certainly used it. We got new washing machines and dryers. We have some vehicle parts, which you could really actually stitch together a really convincing auto part shop. Here's the roof over here. Oh, I already put that over there. My bad. Got a dome trash can, other trash cans, and this is part of, it's kind of a, what's the word for it? Kind of junkyard scenario. You get the magnetic, what is that called? There's a word for it. This is a hoist magnet. There you go. You get the supportive chains and hoists, hooks, and all that stuff, along with one of these support hoists. Yeah, the hoist spreader. And then the garment bags. There we go. Yeah, garment bag. I've seen these in a lot of closets. Alright, well that about covers that. Now let's actually cover some of the tools that have been either added or missed in previous series. Now here is a, what's called, a dev terrain remove tool and add tool. Now if you're designing something more mountainous, you can just click and you can see that it's additive terrain. Now this will actually work. Let's give a bit of an example here. This works based off the block you're selecting. So let's select something a little more different. Let's say, let's go for some snow. Go place some snow over here. That's awful, but okay. So let's do some terrain adding. You can tell that it actually grows whatever terrain you're selecting. So it's growing the beneath terrain as well as the snow above. I wonder if I can get just the snow. Yeah, it still just grows like that. So that's kind of cool. So you can get some kind of more natural looking terrain other than just dropping blocks like that. I mean, yeah, it's a heck of a lot faster to do that. And then subsequently the remove tool. So you can just kind of mold and shape whatever you're looking for. Yeah, looks alright. So just kind of destroy everything here. Alright, now the other tools to look for. There is a replace block tool that I missed, so let's go ahead and grab some wood blocks. Now keep note, while you're using this tool, the names of these. Now, or actually, I think the IDs will even work. Let's try this out. That's 353, and let's try concrete. Let's see, concrete block. Okay, I believe that is number, hold on, 457. Okay, let's try this out. So let's get some wood blocks placed here. So we can use the replace block tool right here. Now all you have to do is either type the ID. No, it doesn't accept the ID. So I guess it's the string ID. So in this case it would be wood block. You might have to kind of do some trial and error. It when it turns from red to clear white, it's validated, it's a proper block. So we can replace that with concrete block. So replace blocks, bam. This just turned concrete. All right, let's do the opposite. Let's grab wood block out of there. So we're say concrete block to, hold on, let's see, what other block could I use? Maybe snow block? No, it's probably something else. Maybe terrain snow? Yeah, there we go. Bam! And then everything's turned to snow. That's kind of cool. Now, that is extremely handy, also very dangerous. So if you've spent hours creating a POI, make sure that you save before you use that tool, because you could accidentally replace a bunch of blocks that you've forgotten you've placed, and once you do a playtest, everything could fall apart, or it could just ruin whatever build you're looking at. Now, the other tool is, bring this open here, using physics and showing stability. Now, let's go ahead and place some wood blocks here. Alright, next is stability. There are some tools here you can use showing stability, which when you're adding some blocks, you can see that the further away you get from these blocks, the lighter the color gets. Now, if you activate physics, you'll see that those blocks are falling off. So as again, the further away from go from certain blocks, it's really handy to tell one far is too far. So again, doing your builds, you don't always want to design with physics on. That could be a problem because you're designing from the center up. That's not structurally sound. So let's try using concrete, which should have a slower fall off than wood. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whereas the wood was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, it was 9. Or maybe it's the same. Hold on. It's probably going to do the same thing, isn't it? No, a little more. Oh yeah, that can go much further. So that's a nice visual way to figure out what blocks to use for what purposes. I think trussing is supposed to be one of the best for that. Let's see here. Trussing blocks. Yeah, I think it's these ones. No, those are POI blocks. So these have been replaced with these new ones. Now let's see how many we can go from here. Now, sometimes this tool is a little finicky. You have to do recalculate stability. Or heck, maybe it's just that good. Something's not right. Let's try this again. Oh, there we go. So trusting does show to be quite a bit further than all the other ones. So that's a good block to use when trying to span distances. Bridge makers, keep an eye out for that block. Alright, well that just about shows off just about everything I had in mind in front of tools that I was missing. Let me take another quick look, make sure I didn't miss anything. No, I think we covered all the other ones. Yeah, well actually there's one more. Right here, when you're designing POIs, it's a good idea to keep in mind how large it is. If you start exceeding over 100 blocks by 100 blocks, there's going to be issues placing it, especially in the vanilla random world generator. I don't believe Nitrogen has the same problem. But if you look right here, this gives you the X, Z, and Y coordinates here. So that's the length, width, and this number in the middle is height. So look here that we're looking at a, here we go, looking at a square. So that'll show that quite easily. Now you need those numbers when creating an entry for Nitrogen. Now it needs the specific height, width, and depth of your builds in order to properly place it in the world. Alright, that shows us about all that. So let's move on to the next topic, and that is POI placement. Alright, for the next part of the video, we're going to be focusing on POI placement. Here we are in the World Editor. You can see that if you just click on Dynamic Prefabs, where everything is. Now we're going to go ahead and drop a prefab right about here. Seems like a nice open area. I like using Z to do an initial location. Now it'll grow to the northeast, so if you hit K and then Dynamic Prefabs, here are all the prefabs. I usually like prefixing all my builds with the underscore, as you can see down here. At the end, there's all the NAGG ones. But let's just use one of the pre-built ones. Let's say Strip Club. I don't know. That stands out to me. So we're going to load that into the clipboard. So if you hit Control V, that's going to show you the approximate shape that this POI is in. Now, something to think about when working with the World Editor is that you cannot make any permanent changes in the world itself. Other than placing prefabs, that's the only thing. The world itself is generated through other means, not through the World Editor, as it might suggest. So if you chop down this tree in the World Editor, you load up the game, that tree's still going to be there because that's part of the template. So that's something to keep in mind when placing prefabs, that if you place something in the wrong place, or you mess up, or all the grass is gone, don't worry about it. It's just going to be temporary when you're working with it, but when you actually play it or you reload the world, it all goes back to the template. So like I said, Control V gives you the shape of the build. Control V again actually just drops it right into place, so you know what you're looking at. You're thinking, no, this is the wrong rotation. So you press X and rotates in the right direction. So you also look at the ground here, it seems to be one off the ground, as most builds tend to be, so it has, you know, an initial ground, so you want it set into it. So you're going to hold G, drag it down once, paste, and there you go. Good, it evens up with the ground nice and even. Now, this is not done. If you left the map and come back, let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to save that, and then exit. Go back into the World Editor, back in the NAGG gain, and you will now see that there's absolutely nothing here. Alright, so let's go ahead and go through that process one more time. Let's show our dynamic prefabs. Let's go ahead and make a selection. Z, K, dynamic prefabs, select the prefab, load it in the clipboard, paste it. Let's actually hold G, let's move it over this way. Here. There's the blue bar, right about there. Paste, and then we're going to rotate it, and there we go. We're going to move it down one more. Actually, let's copy this selection, move it down, and Control V to paste it again. There, everything's moved down, everything's lined up. So we're ready to make this into an actual prefab. Hit K, dynamic prefabs. So make sure that's still selected. Load into prefab. So we knew that we had to rotate it. Here we go. Well, that doesn't look right. Oh, let me get rid of that selection. Okay, let's select this prefab. Oh, this needs to be rotated. Here we go. Should be leveled with the ground. And good. Now this all got mucked up during the rotation process, but don't worry about that too much. So we're just going to hit save. Let's take a look at the properties. When you have a prefab selected and you hit K, it'll open up the properties for it. Now, I know for a fact that this rotation needs to be rotated twice more, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Hit K, rotation 3. Now, this seems to be a bug. Now, try this on your own. Feel free to experiment. But I find rotation is kind of weird, or there's something that, that is not intuitive by looking at the tools or how this works. So let's go ahead and save. Now, if I exit this and come back, editing tools, world editor, and NAGG, we see that it's rotated properly. Weird, right? So that's going to take some trial and error. It's not a big deal. I mean, it looks like it's kind of relatively seamless into the world here, which is kind of nice. I mean, yeah, that looks about right. So that's how to place prefabs. Now, we're using the world editor. That is the best way to do it. It's clean. You can get lots of information, and it's really the cleanest way to do it. So there is another way to do it, not recommended, but let's go ahead and do that. Now, something else to bear in mind, that if you're editing a world that is already in use by a save file, you go back to that save file, there's going to be a bit of a complication there. So if you load the save file and you've never been to this area, let's say you've never been to Dyersville, and you come by here, this is going to be here. But if you already visited the location, the save file actually contains changes made to each chunk in the map. So if you've already been here, you've already saved the state of this area. So you come back, there's no strip club. Now, you'd have to delete that file by knowing the exact coordinates. You can actually find that by using F3. And I think it's under CH for chunk. We're in region R20. In your save file, under regions, if you find that file R20 and delete that, then that will effectively reset the area. Okay, now it's again a little complicated. It's not entirely the topic of what we're doing, but it might be a little tidbit that might help you along your way. So F3 a couple times to close that. All right, now let's move on to the next section. Let's move on to loading a prefab into a live game. All right, here we are in a new save file. You can see that NAGG has a strip club here now, which is all right, I guess. All right, now we're in a live game. Everything's moving around, everything's doing its thing, but you will still want to place a prefab. So I've already gone through and gotten the debug mode. So let's see. Go to another location here, right down the road. Here we go, that'll work. Now, you do not have all the same tools. Hit escape, you don't have all of your world editing tools. I guess what you do have is you can still make selections, you can still open up the dynamic prefabs, and you can still load one in. Let's go ahead and select the same location. What was that called? Bar strip club. Okay, loaded the clipboard. Hold on here. I mean, does that even work for load clipboard? Load the clipboard, Control V. It doesn't even do that. So we'll have to actually kind of eyeball as best we can. So also, you don't have any power of rotation, so it goes where you think it goes. We know for a fact that it is one set into the ground. We'll move the block into the ground. Okay, prefabs, and load in prefab. Now, again, when we're talking about save files, this chunk does not have information on this at all. So we actually have to rebuild the chunk in order for this to happen. You can do that in-game just by typing CR for chunk reset. So this reset the chunk that the strip club was in. And now again, you do not have the powers of rotation. It is where it is. So if you have a good idea where it's facing, then you know if that's doing a south facing when it spawns in, try to spawn it knowing that it's going to be facing south. So let's actually get rid of... Actually, can I get rid of that screen? Let me teleport somewhere else and come back, see if it'll get rid of that block. And it does not. Okay. Might have to actually exit the game and come back in order to see that, because you have no way of turning off. So let's go ahead and exit. Continue the game. Okay, we're back in NAGG. And let's actually, you know what? Let's load up a weapon here. just to have something to use. Let's say, oh, the M60 will do. Yeah. Actually, I can get a level 6 one. Some greedy. Yeah, level 5 will do. Then some 762. Oop. Hollow points. Why not? Let's get some hollow points. Oh, get out of there. Oh, we have some zombies. That's cool. Oh, get a road light ammo. Should have zombies in here. Yes, we do. Back up, everybody. So prefab is in place. It is an actual live prefab, as you would expect, with zombies and loot. And that was spawned in during a live game. So that's cool. Now again, you have very little control, so there's not too much you can do about that. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, it again is best to do it inside of the world editor. You have all the control, it makes it nice and clean. And that's really the best way to do it. But hey, if you just want to show people what you've built or something you've done, and you are the admin of that area, or this is your build, then that's the way to do it. And you can also get little weird oddities like this. There's some missing blocks. That can happen if you drop it in and there's like grass or... Oh, bunny! Bunny! Really? Okay, that's embarrassing. Maybe my wife will cut this out, or she'll leave it in. We'll see. So anyways, yeah, so you can sometimes are missing blocks and other things you don't expect. What if I can actually see any? Now, it just seems to be that one little section that didn't pop in correctly. Right here. So again, that's one of the oddities to expect. But anyways, that's the way to do it. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to drop that in the comments or join our Discord. You can find links for our Discord in the About page, or I believe in the description of most of our videos. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something, and we'll just continue to grow and learn as we all figure out these tools and how to build POIs. Thanks for joining you, and see you next time.